Hello everyone, and welcome back to my challenge where I try to beat Plants vs. Zombies 2 with only flowers. This is the 5th part, and as this is the first part you are seeing, I'd recommend you watch the previous parts beforehand, which are all linked in the description. And with nothing new to discuss, let's continue on the challenge by moving on to the start of the modded content that I'll be doing by moving on to the Holiday Mashup.
Merry Christmas!
Welcome to the Holiday Mashup, a world where all the zombies decide to celebrate every holiday all at the same time. And while this world doesn't feature a lot of new zombies, or new reskins of zombies from previous worlds, each holiday zombie has a different resistance, which I'll bring up with each new holiday that is introduced. And the festive zombies have a 75% resistance to chilling effects, which could be quite a difficult thing if I actually had any plants that could actually chill, which I don't. And the second gimmick of this world is the presents, which will either have 100 sun or a random plant, meaning I get to see more non-flower plants than I would normally. And this being day 1 and all, this level is 0, so let's move on. Day 2 introduces the luck of the zombies, who have a 75% resistance to stalling effects, which once again isn't a big deal because I don't really have any stalling plants that would be affected by them. And I also introduced one of my next new flowers, Lotus Pond, who is based off of a lotus, which is a type of flower. And I unlocked him during another stream where I did some of the quests, and if you ever want to check out any previous streams, you can check out my VODS channel, which I should have linked in the description. And their main gimmick is having 2 different types of shooting, depending if he's placed in the water or not. And we won't see his other shooting mode for quite a while, so just keep it in the back of your head for now, okay? And this level is easy, so let's continue on. Day 3 is just a comparable level, but it does also introduce the Valenbrain zombies, who just have a 75% resistance to Stalia's stalling effect, which won't be much of a big threat because I just don't use them in those levels. But let's continue on. Day 4 introduces the Birthday zombies, who can't be affected by Sunbeam's sun effect, which means they're just normal zombies. I also get my next new gem plant, called Snapdragon, who is Snapdragon with a freezing effect, and you all know how Snapdragon works by this point. I also start using Clover. Yes, it did take me this long to figure out that clovers are flowers, but that's besides the point. And this level was easy, thanks to my classic Void Orchard Snapdragon strat. Frosty edition. But, let's move on. Day 5 is a locked and low level, but also introduces the Halloween zombies, who, once again, just have a 75% resistance to stun effects, which kinda sucks that they share an effect with the luck of the zombies, which becomes kind of a consistent theme moving on. But let's continue on. Day 6 introduces the hero zombies, who aren't affected by plants that need to be eaten with the ability to activate, which once again means it isn't a problem to deal with. This level is also one of the many mini-boss levels that this world will have me face. On this level will having me face off against Infinity, who will create clones of himself around him to protect him. And he dies as soon as he spawns thanks to Red Stinger's plant food ability, and allowing me to continue on. Day 7 introduces the holiday drinks, which act like the potions from the Dark Ages, with each one giving some kind of special boost. And other than that, this level has not much going on, besides the return of him. So let's continue on. Day 8 introduces the Summer Nights zombies, who have a resistance to freezing effects. This level also has me produce 40,000 sun, which, as usual, wasn't an issue to deal with, so let's continue on. Day 9 is another locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 10 introduces the Food Fight zombies, who have a resistance to being buttered. And this level also has me butter 25 zombies, which is the first unique objective we will be seeing within this world, and the ones moving on. And if Buttercup didn't exist, this level would have been impossible. But thank goodness they do. And after the great turkey war of Day 10, this level was beaten. Day 11 introduces the Big Brain zombies, who not only suffer from big headitis, which is terminal, unfortunately, but are also immune to knockback. But just like the Jurassic Willy zombies, this has no effect on me and my plants. And alongside me protecting some primal pea shooters, this level also introduces my next new flower, Dandelion, who is of course based off of a dandelion. And their main gimmick is firing exploding seeds into the lanes both in front of him and above and below them. And they can deal great damage once you have enough of them on the lawn. and you'll see me using them quite a lot moving on. But other than that, this level was easy, so let's continue on. Day 12 is another mini-boss level. I mean, he faced off with both the birthday zombies, but also the cake tank, who will stop in the middle of the lawn and spawn more and more zombies as he takes more and more damage. But they were no match for my almighty flowers. So, with this cake crushed, let's continue on. Day 13 is the part where Zomboss just gives up on theming and starts mixing different zombies from different holidays to try and stop my powerful flowers. That's a sentence I tried to say, but whatever. And I decided to use Bloomerang because we haven't seen them in quite a while. And it wasn't the best choice because I had quite a bit of challenge during this level. But this level is so beatable, so let's continue on. Day 14 is another conveyor belt level, so let's continue on. Day 15 has me not lose more than 4 plants, but more importantly, it's also the introduction of my next new flower, Cactus, who's based off a cactus, of course. And they were quite differently from when they were back in the first game, firing a piercing thorn that'll hit up to 3 zombies at a time, along with going underground and acting like a spike weed when a zombie gets too close. And this level is thankfully not another big wave beach day 28 situation, but it does. Oh, come on, why are you back, pianist zombie? Your Christmas getup. Why don't you buzz off and go kill the repairer's wife or something? I don't know. Anyway, this level wasn't hers, so let's move on. Day 16 has nothing notable about it and was pretty easy, so let's move on. Day 17 is another locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 18 is the mini-boss level, so once again, skip. Day 19 introduces the Z-Corp zombies, which I guess having a 9 to 5 is now a holiday. Alright. Alongside a new special zombie, the Councilate zombie, who will move back and forth across the lawn, pushing zombies to other lanes alongside changing lanes by themselves. Yeah, this level was another easy one, so let's continue on. Day 20 is another conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 21 is a planar defense level, so once again, skip. Day 22 introduces another new objective, having me not place down any plants for 40 seconds, which I completed at the start of the level, making it another easy objective. This level also introduces the text to support zombies, who will spawn like the parachute zombies, how are nerds learning how to fly! And if they are killed before hitting the ground, they'll blow up and kill any zombies around them with an explosion, alongside throwing their computers when moving on the ground, which will insta-kill a plant. And this level was once again easy, even with the new objective, so let's move on. Day 23 introduces another new objective, having to make sure I wrap up 35 zombies using the birthday drinks. And during the starting of the level, I played a lot more passively than usual, so I can make sure enough zombies could get wrapped up before the end of the level. But once that objective was completed, I went all out on my assault on the zombies, which allowed me to beat the level. Day 24 is another mini-boss level, having me face off against the entire 9 to 5 working class, alongside fighting against the next mini-boss, the Z-Mech, who uses tons of attacks such as teleporting zombies around, spawning imps and jetpack zombies, and firing missiles at my flowers. But enough folks, they were taken down, allowing me to beat the level. Day 25 introduces the chair zombie, who is kind of a mix between the bull rider imps and the all-star zombies, charging down the lane using its all-powerful chair, then insta-killing any plants that run into them, being flung a few tiles in front. And they are basically the same amount of difficulty that an imp and an bull rider imp and an all-star zombie are, but combined. And this level gave me a bit of a trouble near the end of it, but I still managed to come out on top, so let's move on. Day 26, another locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 27 introduces the witch zombie, who functions like the balloon zombie from the first game, but this time they can only be attacked by lobbing plants and will ignore lawnmowers, which, as you can probably tell, that was quite an issue, which means I had to bring in my next new flower to take care of them, Blooming Heart, who is based off of a bleeding heart, and with their main gimmick being able to deal more damage to zombies that they attack over time. And thanks to them, alongside Clover, I was able to take care of these wicked zombies and was able to beat the level. Day 28 is another locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 29 is also a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 30 is another mini-boss level, and not only having me protect some infinites from these holiday-based hordes, but also having me face off with the next mini-boss, Professor Brainstorm, who will spawn random zombies of the holiday variety, along with teleporting to a random lane after each time he uses it. But even with this large horde of random holiday-esque zombies, I managed to take down Professor Brainstorm and beat the level. Day 31 has me protect some strawberries, and just like the banana launchers back in Big Wave Beach, I allowed myself to use them. This level also introduces the overstuffed zombie, who can both block straight moving projectile thanks to his big old belly, but can also eat round plants such as spikeweed, which won't really come up as much because, you know, I can't use spikeweed, but it might come up later. And I only lost one lawnmower in this level due to an unfortunate tech zombie spawning at the end of my lawn and my cactus not being able to kill it in time. But other than that, I still managed to beat this level and continue on. Day 32 is another planar defense level, so skip. Day 33 introduces my next new flower, Boingletta, who is based off a Poingletta, and with their main gimmick being, when placed for the first time, they chill all zombies for a short time, alongside breaking any grid items that are on the lawn. And afterwards, will only chill zombies in the lawn with grid. And other than this brand new flower to my arsenal, this level was easy and beatable. Day 34 has me protect these rather dapper free Peters, and this level also features gesture zombie variants to make the free Peters attacks much more of a problem than a help. But even with this level was still beaten with not much of an issue, so let's continue on. Day 35 is a hero-themed conveyor belt level, but still, this level could have a superhero skip this time, so the superhero skip. Day 36 is the worst level in this world, nay, maybe even worse than Big Wave Beach Day 28. Nah, probably not. It features a mini-boss that is so hated that even the devs of themselves dislike it. Multiplicity, who will split into smaller and smaller imps with each death. And I lost so many times to this level to that stupid boss that I'm not even going to want to talk about it anymore, so I'm just going to end it here and walk away. Here I go. Walking away. I'm definitely not a scripted bit. Here I go. Yep. See you all later. But besides that, let's continue on. Day 37 has me kill 10 zombies within 10 seconds. And using the Frosty edition of my Void Orchard Snapdragon strat, I easily beat this level and the objective. So let's continue on. Day 38 is a locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 39 has me make sure that the zombies don't walk over the row of flowers. We're using a certain holiday drink that acts similar to the T-Rex back in Jurassic Marsh, making them move faster till they start eating a plant. But thanks to both Cactus and Lotus Pod, I made sure that the zombies never made it close to those flowers, which allowed me to beat the level. Day 40 is another locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 41 only allows me to bring 4 plants, and so I bought a new flower to help along with this, Bramble Bush, who may be based off of a rose bush, at least according to the chat member that asked me to use them, and I didn't want to disappoint a viewer, so I brought him along. Anyway, Bramble Bush's main gimmick is to trap up the free zombies in its thorns, hurting them over time, and hurting any zombies that try to eat it while it's attacking another zombie. And they can also be used to break barrels like Spikeweed can, which will be quite useful later on. And use my newfound flower alongside Wasabi Whip, and I was able to beat the level. Day 42 is another locked and load level, so skip. Day 43 gave me some trouble because of the glitter zombies being used a lot during this level, keeping every other zombie behind it invincible until they got taken care of. But thanks to Cactus, I managed to beat the level, so let's continue on. Well, Day 44 may just be another plain new defense level. It has something going on throughout that makes this level impossible. Having a row of potato mines in the middle lane, with them only sending out flying zombies in that lane. And the level expects you to use sweet potatoes to move them so you can take care of them without blowing up the potato mines. And well, at first I tried using Void Orchard's Void portals to move zombies that way, but with the way they work, alongside the weasel and chicken zombies constantly getting summoned out into the middle lane as well, blowing them up, they weren't able to deal with them well enough to beat the level. So I gave in and used sweet potato to beat the level. marking it as impossible. But hey, if you guys want to give it a shot, the flowers I had at my arsenal, you can try and let me know down in the comments if you did manage to beat them, then I'll mark it as possible at that point. Day 45 has me protect some spikeweed variants, along with introducing the last flower of this world, cauliflower, who is based off a cauliflower. And their main gimmick is hypnotizing zombies so they can work for me now, ah ha ha! And at first, I wanted to only use cauliflower as my main attacker. But this plan quickly fell apart when I found out that witch zombies were also in this level because I didn't see them during this part of the level because they were being covered by all the other zombies. So after bringing along Blooming Heart, I was able to beat the level. Day 46, once again another level has me protect a row of flowers. And by using tons of Blooming Hearts, this level was quite easy to beat, so let's continue on. Day 47 is the big final level of this world. And it's not just like a conveyor belt level or something very easy like as in the past, it's an actual challenging level. Using every zombie it has thrown at me before, all into one long and arduously challenging level. And after me and my chat came up with the perfect setup of plants to use in this level, I continue forward. And after 6 long waves of a never-ending horde of zombies, I finally beat the level. So let's move on. Day 48 is just the zombie boss level, so now it is time for me to talk about how I thought the world. To be honest, it's just a 10 times better version of modern day in all ways. It uses zombies much better, like all the variants are cool. And it was just a very fun world in general. I'll do like the obligatory tier listing stuff later, but just no. But this world is pretty high up. It's just like just a 10 times better modern day and much better levels. Sure, it's longer. It makes my editing work much more of a pain, but other than that, this world was really good. So, with Zombie Boss out of the way, let's continue on to the Steam Age. You're dead. Thank you. We did it. I won. It only took 5 or 6.
Kaboom!
Yes, Rico. Kaboom.
Welcome to the Steam Age, an industrial world with enough toxic gas to kill like every working class person on the entire face of the planet. Now the main gimmick of this world are the manholes, which will spawn either basic zombies or imps, and will walk backwards and try to take down my defense from behind. Now there is a counter to these manholes, that being wall plants, being able to be placed on top of them. Sadly though, Buttercup is unable to be planted on them, meaning block will be required for these levels. And being day 1 and all, this level was easy, so let's continue on. Day 2 introduces my next new flower, Cattail, who's based off of a cattail, of course. And now some of you may be thinking, brains. Cattails are also called water reeds. Wouldn't that also make lightning reed count for this challenge? And to that I say, yes. Now Cattail has had some changes since the first game. Now having a large attack range instead of being able to attack the entire lawn. But now being able to fire 2 spikes at a time instead of 1. And with this brand new flower to my team, or I guess brand old new flower to my team, I beat the level. Day 4 is just a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 4 introduces the gentleman zombie, who will fly over all plants in his way, only stopping if I eat my sunflowers. Yes. And these British scoundrels could seem to be a threat to some, but they were no match for my flowers. Sorry about that, don't know what came up with me. They were quite easy to take out and allowed me to beat the level. Day 5 is locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 6 introduces my next new flower, Vanilla, who is based off a vanilla flower. And their main gimmick is not dealing any damage at all and being able to stun zombies for a short time. Yeah, you won't be seeing me use them that much in this world and later on. But this level also introduces a barrel zombie, whose functions similarly to the newspaper zombies back in modern day, being protected by their trustworthy barrel, then gaining a speed boost once it's destroyed, along with being able to eat faster than most other zombies. But even with these barreling threats, this level is still another easy level to beat, so let's continue on. Day 7 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 8 has been produced 3,500 sun, and even with this level being quite long, the objective was easy as always, and Dandelion and Cattail took care of their zombies quite well, letting me beat the level. Day 9 has been protect 2 split bees, both being in lanes with manholes in them, but using Block and Lean Ale easily took care of those manholes for me, along with using the classic Void Orchard Snapdragon strat to make sure that the rest of the zombies stayed out of those lanes as well, which allowed me to beat the level. Day 10 features this world's big gimmick level, having blueprints on the lawn that only the backward zombies are able to read. And if you ever get 2 of these blueprints, I would lose the level. But, using Cattail to take out the manhole spawning zombies throughout the level, I was able to beat the level without them ever getting anywhere close to those blueprints. Day 11 may force some non-flowers into my team, but it also gives me my next new flower, Lily of Alchemy, who is based off of a Lily of the Valley, with their main gimmick being to either throw a normal projectile, or one that will both slow down zombies and pierce through their armor, dealing direct damage to the zombie itself instead of the armor, making them quite good when used on more tankier zombies or ones with armor. This level also introduces the wheelbarrow zombie, who will push a wheelbarrow that, when destroyed, will drop down coal on the ground in a similar way to the barrel pusher zombies back in Pirate Seas. And this coal will damage plants that are near them, along with the zombie being able to spawn with armor like cones or buckets. But they didn't prove much of a threat right now, but they will prove to be one later on. But for now, let's move on. Day 12 had not much to note about, so let's just continue on. Day 13 is a planar defense level, so skip. Day 14 has quite an interesting gimmick, removing both my shovel along with my plant food, which I may or may not have forgotten the latter one and brought Power Lily along, meaning I just wasted a slot in complete accident. And I actually quite like this gimmick, because it forced me to have a set-in-stone strategy, making any mistake when it comes to placing down my plants more detrimental, especially if it's in the farther back lanes, where zombies won't often get to. But even without my shovel and plant food, I still managed to come out on top and been able to beat the level. Day 15 has me protect 3 cattails from these underpaid workers, but thanks to both cattails of my own to take care of any manhole spawning zombies to try to take out my endangered cattails from behind, along with alchemy lilies to weaken down any other zombies, I was able to protect these non-cat flowers and was able to beat the level. Day 16 is the Gargantuar mini-boss level thingamajig, so skip. Day 17 introduces the furnace zombies, who will explode in a 3x3 area upon death, kind of like a similar other zombie from a future time. Whatever. And their main weakness being that they take extra damage to fire attacks, which won't come into play that much because my only 2 fire plants are both close range, which isn't the best range that you want for zombies that explode, you know? And this level gave me quite some trouble, and that's less because of the furnace zombies and more because of the large amount of wheelbarrow zombies that they threw at me, which slowly took down my defense. But I still managed to come out on top and beat this level my first try, so let's continue on. Day 18 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 19 introduces the mechanic zombie, who has 3,000 health. For context, Gargantuars have 600 health more than them, which, you know, is quite a lot for a normal zombie. Anyway, their main gimmick is being able to spawn clockwork zombies every so often. And the clockwork zombies have quite the fasting speed, and they're quite a bit tanky as well, making them a big threat if too many spawn in the same lane. Oh, and also the mechanic zombies are just can't be killed by lawnmowers because suffer. I don't know. I managed to beat the level, but these guys are going to be quite a problem later down the line. But for now, let's continue on. Day 20 is another blueprint level, but now for blueprints and manhole in every single lane. And to try and have some aid against these mechanic zombies, I bought my next new gem plant, Heathseeker, who is based off a winter heath. And their main gimmick is just being able to be an insta-plant, which is always a good thing to have in these types of levels. And it took me 2 tries to beat this level, but for my second attempt, I had tons of sunflowers in the early game so I could have enough sun to build a sturdy enough defense for the late game. And doing this plan, I was able to beat the level. Day 21 has me not plant more than 14 plants, but other than that, this level also introduces the Inventor Zombie, who's just a tankier balloon zombie, so nothing new to talk about here. This level gave me some troubles, but I still beat it, so let's move on. Day 22 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 23 introduces my next new flower, Maypop Mechanic, who is based off a Maypop flower, and their main gimmick is firing 2 gears. A weaker one that will bounce off 5 zombies, and a stronger gear that will first be flung backwards, then boomerang back around towards the zombies, making them a great counter for backwards moving zombies such as ones that are affected by pterodactyl zombies in Jurassic Marsh, or other ones that I can't remember. Anyway, thanks to both Dandelion and Maypop Mechanic, this level was easily beaten. Day 24 has me make sure that no zombies walk over the row of flowers. And this level is another one where it took me 2 tries to beat. And using Wasabi Whip and Dandelion on my second go, I beat it without too many close calls. So let's continue on. Day 25 is a locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 26 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 27 has me protect a single manga shroom, along with the introduction of the repair imp. That when killed, it will drop down its repair station. That will heal any mechanical zombies in a 3x3 radius, or any mechanical devices, such as the balloons from the Inventor zombies. And because of their headpiece that they are wearing, Manga Shroom will rip their head right off, killing them instantly, which is a problem because it gives me less time to prepare my defense in the early game. And I lost quite a few times to this level, but I eventually came up with the plan to use a buttercup to solve the first repair imp so I could produce more stun later on. And I eventually managed to beat the level. It wasn't pretty, but I still managed to do it. And this is a don't lose X amount of plants level. On day 28, the devs are mocking me, aren't they? And this level is only 1 flag, and I did manage to beat it on my first try, but there's a sense of irony here that I just don't want to talk about, so let's just move on. Day 29 is the level I struggled the most with in this world, being a blueprint level, along with the return of the Rot being placed on top of the manholes, meaning I can't plant blockily there to stop the zombies from getting to the blueprints. My first plan was to use the classic Void Orchard Snapdragon strat to move the manhole zombies away from the blueprints, but this plan didn't really work well because I had both no way to kill the mechanic zombies and no way to deal with the manhole zombies if the void portals ever got destroyed. And my second plan was to use Wasabi Whip to quickly take out the manhole zombies, along with Dandelion to deal with any other zombies. And while this did bring me the closest to winning, it still wasn't enough. But then, a hero appeared, the one plant that could beat this cactus. Thanks to Cactus's piercing ability, along with their plant food being the booster or damage, along with stunning zombies for a short time, they allowed me to beat the level. So, let's continue on. Also, on another note, the Inventor zombies are able to eat cactus, and they just don't go underground like with every other zombie. I don't know if this is a bug or intentional, but I don't know. Future editing me will probably put something up to see if like other balloon zombies are also like this, but I don't know. Anyway, let's continue on. Day 30 is just a locked and loaded level. So much skip it, my fine sirs. Ha 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 ha. Day 31 is the big final level, ignoring Zomboss of this world, bringing both Cactus and Cattail along for the ride. This level was being without too much a problem, even if it was the big final level. Surprising how much an objective challenge could increase the difficulty of a level. But this level was still quite fun, so with this treacherous big level out of the way, let's continue on. Day 32 is just the Zomboss fight, so now it's time for me to rant about this world. And once again, cheers to the Reflorishtives, apologies. Cheers to them. They made a really good world, because I've watched videos of like, this world comes from the Chinese version of PvZ2, and I've seen how buggy and bad it is in that version, but they managed to make it really good in this version. This is probably not yet the pinnacle of peak world gameplay, at least not yet. It is still pretty high up, probably alongside Holiday Mashup. But I have Zomboss now out of the way. I have beaten the Steam Age, and let's continue on the Calginous Carnival. Now I start. Welcome to La Matcha Land. Welcome to the Calginous Carnival, an unsettling world that brings us back into the realm of the night. Now the main gimmick of this world are the tarot cards, and when a plant is placed on them, it will spawn a projectile which will give the zombies a random effect. Now I'm going to explain all the cards right now to save time later on. Starting off with the helpful ones, we have the Sun card, which will give zombies the Sunbeam effect for a short period of time, dropping 100 Sun when killed. The Power Lily card, which gives zombies plant food. And the Basic card, which will turn any zombie into a basic one. And for the unhelpful ones, we got the Bucket card, which turns zombies into bucket heads, and the Grinder box card, which turns zombies into grinder box heads, which all you need to know for them is that they're just tankier bucket heads. They'll spawn another zombie, which we'll get to later on. And as per usual, the first level is easy, so let's move on. Night 2 introduces the Carny Imps, which are 2 imps fused into one, giving them twice the eating speed, and will split into 2 imps upon killed. I also introduced a plant from the Steam Age that I didn't get to use back then. The Lotus Root, which is based off of the root of a lotus flower. And their main gimmick is firing water in a shotgun style pattern, along with being able to put out fire plants, because you know, it's water. And they are quite strong, and have some very good uses later on. So you'll be seeing me use them quite a bit during the later on levels. And lastly, sorry, this is running with another breath. This level introduces the Jack-in-the-Boxes, which will spawn a random sort of things after some amount of time. And once again, I'm going to be quickly going over all of them. There's the Candy, which will give zombies a buff depending on the color. The Carny Balls, which will insta-kill a plant if not killed quick enough. The Carny Nibblers, which are just fast eating little punks. And the Mechanical Monkeys, which are also fast eating just little gremlins, which also can be spawned by grinder box zombies. And once again, this level was not much of an issue, so let's move on. Night 3 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Night 4 introduces the Stilt Walker zombies, and using their basketball legs, they will walk over all plants in the way, but once their stilts are destroyed, they'll act like a basic zombie. And using both Cattail and Shrinking Violet, I was able to take care of these creepy zombies and beat the level. Night 5 is a locked and loaded level, so skip. Night 6 picks most of my plants for me, but thankfully they give me Alchemy Lily, so I have some kind of attacker to use, along with bringing along Sunflower and Buttercup myself. This level also introduces this Vendor Zombie, who comes in 2 versions. One that throws pink cotton candy that boosts a zombie's health, and one that throws blue cotton candy which boosts a zombie's speed. But even with these zombies boosting their fellow allies, they were no match for my flowers, and I beat the level. Day 7 has been protect a row of flowers, and after losing one to see if Stilt Walkers counts as walking over them, which should have been obvious on my end, but using both Buttercup and Lotus Root, I was able to beat this level on my second attempt. So, with this victory on my way, let's continue on. Night 8 is sadly another impossible level. This level limits my seed bank, only letting me use my most expensive flowers, which is kind of a problem in a world without sun falling from the sky. And the level expects you to use puff shrooms in the early game so you can place them on the sun cards to build up sun in the early game. And after some attempts without using puff shroom, I caved in and used them to beat the level. And with this loss on my end, let's continue on. Night 9 introduces the Trapeze Zombies, which are like the swashbucklers back in Pirate Sea, but they can come up into pairs of up to 4 zombies at a time. But they're the same amount of a threat as the swashbucklers are, easily taken out if you know where they land. And this level was also easy, so let's continue on. Night 10 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Night 11 introduces my next new flower, Boom Balloon Flower, which I don't really know what they're based off, but they have flower in the name, counting them for the challenge. And their main gimmick is that you can click on them, placing a balloon anywhere on the lawn. And these balloons can be stacked up to 3 times, making them deal more damage with each balloon. And this level also introduces the fire breather zombies. And because of their diet of purely gasoline and motor oil, they can breathe fire, dealing huge damage to my flowers from a distance. But they can easily be countered by using an ice plant such as Ice Bloom to put out their flame, making them unable to breathe fire. And thanks to both Boom Balloon Flower and Ice Bloom, this level was easily beaten. Night 12 is just some type of matching minigame, so skip. Night 13 is a planar defense level, so skip once again. Night 14 is a locked and loaded level. 3 skips in a row. We're gonna hit the jackpot, baby. Night 15 has been protect 2 caramel colts from this horror freak show. But thanks again to both Lotus Root and Ice Bloom, this level was beaten without much of an issue, so let's continue on. Night 16 may be the Gargantua mini-boss level, but it's also the final level. Because this world is only half finished, only the first part currently being released. So this will be the point where I start ranting about it. And so far, with the first half, this has been a pretty good world. Probably maybe even better than Dark Ages, if it continues to be this good quality for a night world. But yeah, with this level out of the way, I have beaten at least the first half of the Calginous Carnival. Now let's move on to the expansion levels. Alright. And that's that. And we got a jar. If you've made it this far into the video, then thank you so much for watching. It was really fun playing for all the modded content where we flourished. Again, I actually never fully played through the Carnival or fully finished Steam Age before, so doing it here for the first time is really nice. Anyway, here's the obligatory tier list showcasing of the new changes, along with the modern day Jurassic merch, because I completely forgot to add it in the last part. Hey, what else to talk? Anyway, the next part should be out eventually, and don't know when I'm uploading this, but by the time that we'll probably be streaming the expansion levels on the Friday of, what's the date? Friday the 30th. The 30th of May on Friday. I should be streaming the adventure levels. And also, we are as I'm currently checking, we're at 872 subscribers, and we're almost at 1K. So, if you could help me reach that milestone, maybe give this video a like, leave a comment, and hey, if you really enjoyed, subscribe. I've been really enjoying doing these levels, but I only got like 2 parts left for this, for like the big super compilation and all that. So yeah, once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all have a lovely day/night. Bye.